So as the NBA continues to globalize, we're seeing mega international stars like SGA and Jokic assert their dominance just the way they have been performing for the past few seasons. And with SGA in particular just coming off that championship, he is showing that he is the complete total package. Not only his game is entertaining to watch on the court, but he definitely does have the swag and just the aura of being that mega star that has the total package. And the NBA national media overall is still struggling to gravitate and market this guy in a way to let the viewing audience know he's him. And that gap right there is what I like to call the Michael Jordan effect, as a lot of the media members are of a certain age where they're sort of branded in their mind of what an NBA star looks like, sort of in a way with everyday brands that you see or you interact with. Take Louis Vuitton, for example. Once you see the logo, you think of luxury, you think of quality, and it being very expensive. Same thing for McDonald's. You think of fast food or the Golden Arches. But again, the media members are of a certain age, and when Jordan was playing, that aura was so strong that a lot of them really gravitate to that archetype, that American-born player, quote-unquote, having a particular swag. That's how stitched in that Michael Jordan branding has affected a lot of those members, with them coming up or just being enamored by Michael Jordan as a child or just teenage years, etc. If any of us is still fortunate to have our grandparents or a particular elder of a certain generation, when they first started watching television, certain brands were stitched in their minds when they first started seeing commercials like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, or Pepsi. And still to this day, even though everyone knows that these foods are bad, that same demographic still consumes those things. The same way the media members today are still enamored by that Michael Jordan effect, and they are subconsciously ignoring the stars of today, even when they have the total package. We're talking about marketing, fashion, winning on the court, most importantly, because that is the biggest aspect to that branding. The media loves Anthony Edwards, that quote-unquote bashful American energy. Even though he looks a little bit like Michael Jordan, you see that particular generation within the NBA media gravitate towards him. They speak about him very differently than they do guys like SGA or even Jokic or even Giannis. Shit, even Giannis had mentioned that he could never be the face of the league because he doesn't have quote-unquote the American swag. And right here, former NBA player Austin Rivers speaks on this dynamic of SGA having the complete total package, but yet he's not really being marketed like that. Could it be because he's Canadian? You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Given the resume, if he was American, maybe a little bit more active on social media, because he's not. Everything's only for promotional use. He only gets on his Instagram and stuff if it's like for something he's doing, promoting a brand, a sneaker, a fashion. He don't just get on his live and start talking to people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he doesn't tweet like Kevin Durant, like if he was more active on social media, born in America and played in a hot market, he'd be the biggest star in basketball by a landslide because he has everything. Fashion, he's number one. We know that. He's like walking in Tom Brown and Louis Vuitton. He's the guy. Game MVP, champion, highest contract in NBA history. He's got the one name. He's got the swag, the aesthetic. Everyone already. But you ask anybody in any sport, like they do this all the time. You'll see these. Who's the most fashion guy that you would take? What's another athlete you think is the most? Every football. Shai. Like Shai's a cool guy. He is the guy. I think it's just him being. Listen, when we go to the Olympics, he don't have our jersey on, bro.
So it's more about not being American and not about him being okay.
I think that stuff affects it. I think like even Wemby, Luka, these guys are huge stars. But if you're telling me if they were one of our, do you see how we treat Ant?
My man Austin Rivers catching on, and at the same time he had mentioned SGA playing in a small market. Isn't Ant-Man doing the same out there in Minnesota?
Ant's like a top 15 player, top 10 player in the NBA, but he's just likable and cool. We put him on. We put him everywhere. You know what I mean? Like
personality's a lot different than those other guys, though, too.
Again, the Americans are usually like that. A little bit more boisterous, a little bit more. We're a little bit more forward. Social media, the way we do it versus that, it's just different, cultural wise. And
I'm not gonna lie, Ant-Man on the court, the way he dribbles, the way he shoots the ball, just his overall look, it is very Michael Jordan-like. Hell, even Ant-Man's face itself. That is a popular trend throughout social media, comparing Michael Jordan's face card versus Anthony Edwards.
what I mean? Music, everything over here. So it's just different. You know what I mean? Like and that's where, I do think it's part of, I think, why Shai's great too. He's right in the middle. He gets to be all these cool things, but like, he's not overdone. He's not like, America's not pushing him. So he's still refreshing. If he was American, we'd already be tired of him. That's what we do. We promote, and then eventually we get irritated with their success. That's how, like, Americans.
I think even
Hey, Austin Rivers talking like there's no cameras on. That is an American thing. We love to build our stars up and tear them down and see how they react. They did it to Michael Jordan when his father died. The gambling accusations, they even tried to tie that into his father's death. The same thing goes for any of the greats. Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, Tom Brady. You gotta go through that American ritual where they love you, they hate you, and then they see how you react so they can love you again. Patrick Mahomes is going through that same scenario right now. But going back to the national NBA media, subconsciously this Michael Jordan branding has affected them so much that even the expectations that they have for Luka, Jokic, and even Giannis to a degree is not necessarily the same as the American players. Draymond Green and Gilbert Arenas briefly touched on this. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I feel like over the years, European players has not had the same, caught the same flack of winning a championship as U.S. players, and I don't understand that. And I wanted to know if you feel the same way about that.
It's really a knock, to be honest. Do they think that they're even capable of winning it by themselves? Mm-hmm. Do they hold them to the greatness of what they hold the American players to?
No, they do not, Gil. You could tell subconsciously. Look at Luka's arrival in LA. There's almost virtually no pressure for him to win. And even though he has an older version of LeBron James, you still don't hear any kind of talks with expectations behind them. Luka right now is in the prime of his career, and this move to LA could potentially waste 3 seasons. We're talking about the year he was traded, this season, and next season for them to get chemistry down with a new team without LeBron. So potentially we're talking about 3 years of Luka's prime seasons just gone to the wayside. Ages 26, 27, and possibly 28. When it came to Jason Tatum, they had put crazy expectations on him since he was age 24.
Right, so when you have a Luka, when you have Jokic, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, they're good. European players are coming over, they're dominating, but do we hold them to the same standard? So it's like they get a free, they get a free easy pass, right? They get a free easy pass versus,
I wouldn't say they necessarily get a free easy pass, but once they win one championship, those expectations seem to simmer down a lot. When on the flip side with the American players, once they win one, they start asking about the next championship even before the parade takes place. Look at Shaq and Kobe.
You know me. You know what I'm about. It's the might be the color of the skin a little bit. You know what I mean? Got to remember the American white boy is gone. Mm-hmm. They adapted the black side of the game, right?
Now with Cooper Flagg and his rise, I'm wondering if those same expectations will be placed on him once he starts approaching his prime years. I would say from ages 24 all the way up into age 32. That's going to be something to be on the lookout for.
They adopted the athletic part of the game, so they don't have the same fundamentals that they used to have. Yeah, you know what I mean. So when you name when I see the white players, and then you put Luka in there, like that's European. Stop. Mm-hmm. Don't try that. I'm on to you. That's a good start. You can't say, he's competing with Larry Bird. No. Yeah. That's Hayward. That's Caruso. That's that group. Yeah. Right?
Now with Cooper Flagg, him coming into the league, there was so much hype and expectation placed on him because once again, this is not a skin color issue. This is a cultural issue. Cooper Flagg is an American-born player. The flair he has when you see him on the court, you can tell he's an American player. The way he dribbles, the way he celebrates. The media almost subconsciously has put him in a different tier of expectation. Just the way they talk about his player profile. When they mention potential greatness when it comes to Cooper Flag, they're talking about championships. Once again, the media members subconsciously with American players, they do have a higher standard versus the international stars. And there's a lot that goes into that subconscious thought. Because going far back is the 1980s, I believe it was 1988 or 89, when Sabonis's father had came into the NBA, a great Eastern European player. But when he was selected, I believe it was the last pick of the NBA draft, the level of disgust in a lot of people's faces because he was a European player. And that stigma was real. It even played out with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, the way they treated Tony Kukoc during their Chicago Bulls run in the mid-90s. A lot of us Americans from a certain era, if you understand, you understand. There is almost an entitlement that basketball is ours. And you see it play out with the Olympics. Look how the NBA, even this season, is sort of playing into it with the way they set up the All-Star game. Adam Silver knows to get the players to play hard, they don't want to look like a bunch of fools, putting the players in a situation where they don't want to lose their reputation and getting their asses whooped by a bunch of international players. The 2024 Olympics was another prime example. The overall aura going into those games was the understanding that on a global level, the gap had began to shrink a lot more than in previous decades. And the best of the best was called up to make sure that Team USA took home that gold.
So I think, they're trying to find a way to ease the Europeans in to make it a broader game. And I don't think they want to really give them that oomph yet. But we're mentally built for it right now. The jury is still out on the Europeans. We see Luka, amazing. Dirk, amazing. Peja, amazing. The ones that came over have been amazing, right? But they need to start understanding that there's a lot from everywhere. There's a lot now. I mean, you can really put an all-star game together, the overseas versus the American.
Yeah,
absolutely. You can really do that now. You know what I mean? Because you'd be surprised who's from, who's not American.
Absolutely.
Like Shai is not American.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So you can really have an all-star game where it's so, you know what I mean? You need to play it down the middle now. Give the same respect to them as you do us, which means you have to put the same type of responsibility on them. Just like there's no way JT's supposed to be in this conversation right now.
Yeah.
No, why?
Yeah.
He's 24, 25 years old. Huh?
Absolutely.
It's like Jaylen Brown is older than him, but you put more. It's like shut up, but that's what media does.
Yeah.
They try to set you up so you can fail.
No, 100%, 100%. And I can agree with you 100%. Like these Europeans today, Luka, Joker, Giannis. Although Giannis accomplished the feat, Joel. And Joel's African, but just, from another continent. Like these guys, they real guys. And they these guys are top 10 guys in our league.
Now with Joel, he's under a very unique circumstance with the American media because they treat him like an American. Even though he was raised in a different continent, for the most part, his formative years was in America. So subconsciously, he does get that kind of Michael Jordan expectation as far as him getting to the finals, winning championships. And also he plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. So he's out there in the East Coast and basketball is pretty much religion out there. Look at Paul George. He has stopped podcasting if anyone really took notice. I'm always saying East Coast fans, they take their basketball real personal. Podcast P could happen in LA, but if he's losing in Philly, that shit is not going to go right for him.
Yes. Majority of them top 5, but they top 10 guys in our league. And I think I didn't even think about it from the perspective of you saying like it's a knock. Like I didn't even think about that. But what I will say is whoever is knocking them, at some point you got to stop. Like these guys are as good as anyone in the league, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
And if the thing is, oh, it's a knock and we don't hold them to that standard, that got to go. Because and by the way, I think Luka wants to be held to that standard. I think we know Giannis wants to be. We know Giannis wants to be held to. So I think these guys want to be held to that standard.
So it is what it is. The national media subconsciously, they're still stuck on that Michael Jordan effect. The very same way a particular older demographic throughout America who came up when they first started selling TVs on a mass level for everyone to consume. The very first commercials that they seen, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, is really entrenched in their minds. And the same thing is playing out with the NBA media right here. They're overlooking the fact that SGA is the total package. He's winning on top of that. But yet, when we see the media interact with Ant-Man, it's a whole different vibe and energy because it reminds them subconsciously that old unescapable aura that Michael Jordan had provided to the game. And that shit is truly powerful. It built up Nike, and most importantly, it built up the NBA.